Lesson 78, Action Verbs and the Present Tense. So this book is for complete beginners, and for that reason, every exercise we have in this book is in the present tense. We don't cover the future tense, and we don't cover the several different kinds of past tense that the Greek language has. Everything's in the present tense, and that's so our readers and listeners can get going here in the easiest possible way. But as we translate the present tense into English, we have a couple of different ways we can do that, don't we, Catherine?
Yes, and this is something that we do in English all the time and don't really think about, but it is a fact of grammar. So in English, we have what's called the simple present. That's something like, I speak Greek, or I sit at the table. These are, well, not very complicated sentence structures, and so they're called the simple present. It tends to have sort of a overarching feel to it rather than I'm describing something that may be happening right this minute. So I speak Greek. I may not be speaking Greek at this very moment, but I do speak it in the sense that I can. There is a different kind of present called the present progressive, which is a little more time focused. So the example in the book is I am speaking Greek, or if we're going to take the sitting example, I am sitting at the table. In both of those cases, the action of speaking or sitting or whatever is happening is going on right now. So if I say I am speaking Greek, that means I am currently speaking Greek right this minute, as opposed to I speak Greek, which is just I can speak Greek at various times. I may not be doing it right this minute. The idea of the present progressive is that there is action in progress. It's happening at this moment. And so it's called the present progressive.
So, Catherine, in this particular book, when someone translates a sentence from Greek to English, they're going to have to pick one of these two ways to translate.
Right, because in Greek, there are not two different ways of saying the simple present and the present progressive. The same word expresses both ideas. A lot of the words that the listeners are going to learn can be translated as, for example, I walk or I am walking. It's the same word, badizdo.
So how will they know how to translate it? How will they know whether to say I walk or I am walking?
This is where context is going to be the listener's best friend, because the rest of the sentence, when there's more to the sentence, will give them a good feel for whether I walk or I am walking is a better translation. And it may mean that the student needs to try out both and see which one sounds better.
Now, Catherine, a moment ago you mentioned context, and so I'm thinking about what specific kinds of context we might find in a sentence like that. And one thing that comes to mind is an adverb. An adverb, by the way, is a word that describes a verb. We might find an adverb that expresses some kind of timing.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the word daily is an adverb that means every day on a repeated basis. So if you see a sentence in Greek that says, I walk, and then the word daily in ancient Greek, it might sound less natural to say, I am walking daily, or it might sound more natural to say, I walk daily.
Right. And often that kind of context with an adverb, it'll indicate repeated action. So repeated action often will need a simple present as opposed to a present progressive. So repeated action, like the daily example, because it's happening over and over, I walk would be a much more contextually appropriate translation as opposed to I am walking, because I am walking is something that's happening right now. But if it's a repeated action, that doesn't quite jive. But if you had the adverb now, for example, that would indicate time where it's happening right now, in which case the present progressive would usually be more appropriate. So I am walking now. having now in the sentence makes I am walking more appropriate than I walk now. I walk now sounds odd in English.
So a quick review here. We have the simple present and we have the present progressive. Two ways to express the present tense in English. And so as you translate a Greek exercise from Greek into English, you'll have to pick one of those two ways. And so as you do that, look for context and look for adverbs like time indicators. And as you do that, I think you'll get the sense of the sentence and you'll figure out which one is going to sound most natural as your translation.